As you were, take a seat. I am your mech commander, the Crazy Uncle, and today we're going to be talking about why mechs actually do make sense in combat. When I talk about mechs, I'm talking specifically about the battle mechs of Battletech. Okay? We're not talking about any of the pacific whims. We're not talking about the Gundam. Those things are stupid and spiky as hell. We're not talking about the Titanic fall, which, by the way, is an exosuit, you dumbass. Okay, I'm not going to go into the differences. That's going to be a whole different video. But there is a major difference. When I talk mech, I am talking about the Battlemech. The Battlemech, by sheer definition, is a bipedal weapons platform. That's what it is. Now, why is this thing useful? Okay, well, in the setting of Battletech, you're going to have something called the Ares Convention, which means you can't just go in and slag or glass a planet. There are rules, very major rules, that you have to follow when it comes to actually taking an entire planet. And this is important. Okay, you can't just drop a shit ton of nukes. You can't just hit them with biologicals. You can't just hit them from space. It's not going to happen. So that means you have to be on the ground. Once a dropship actually gets you onto the ground, you have to take very large pieces of land. And this is not to be underestimated. I want you to actually just look at a map and you see like a landmass of, like, say, Portugal or Russia. You know, if you look at a map and you just have a map of Portugal in front of you, you're thinking, oh, that's a pretty big landmass. And then you compare it to the size of Europe, oh, that's pretty small. Well, look at Russia and then compare it to the entire freaking planet. It's not that big of a landmass. Well, it is a large landmass, but you'd think, oh my God, it would take a conventional army of today's standard freaking years to cover something like that. Do you really think they have the time, the money, the equipment to sit there and fuck around for years at a time? Hell no. They need a weapon system that is going to allow them to take large pieces of land by bringing overwhelming firepower. They also need one that's able to traverse very questionable terrain. Now, does that mean that a Battlemech can handle any type of terrain? Absolutely not. I wouldn't even think that. Of course, you end up in some sort of swampland, you end up in some sort of wherever the weight of whatever mech is going to be too much for the land itself. I mean, hell, some cities you can't even bring anything bigger than a medium mech inside. I mean, just look at New York City. That thing's been hollowed out and redone so many times. If I brought an Atlas in there, the damn thing would be walking down the street and all of a sudden I would just fall into a subway. A different subway. And then what am I going to do there? Sit there and go, oh, well, maybe the next train can suck my Atlas's... Never mind. Regardless, you still have to bring a whole bunch of firepower, and that's what these things do. Now, does that mean that they are the end-all, be-all? Hell the fuck no. You still have your fighters, you still have artillery, you still have vehicles of different types, you still have infantry. And hell, the clans got really smart, and they genetically designed a group of folks that are just absolutely massive to operate an armored exosuit. They call them, they call the personnel elementals, and then they got their suits. And basically, small arms ain't touching these guys. You need something 50 cal or bigger, or else it ain't taking it down. But that's nothing compared to the Battlemech itself. But that's why mechs work. They can traverse terrain that even tanks can't cover. They can bring a shit ton of firepower, plus they loom over the battlefield. And a lot of people are thinking, oh, this bipedal weapons platform that's shooting at me, I'll just shoot it in the leg. Okay, dipshit, listen up. Do you have any idea in the heat of battle how hard it is to just shoot somebody in the leg while they're running? If you think that's easy, you've been playing way too many video games. Okay, it's not easy to do. Not only are you most likely not going to hit anything, but the hard part of hitting something that's moving as fast as someone's legs, especially at range, is exceedingly difficult unless you are very well positioned, shall we say. Even then, the armor that's on these things is not only ablative armor, but the armor is made to literally flake off. It's kind of like reactive armor as well, where if you hit it, it's just going to burst back in your direction. Look, that could be a whole video up on itself. I'm not going to get into that. But for right now, just remember, that is what the Battlemech is there for. If some, say the clans decide to invade our planet, now they would have a lot more trouble than they realize because, well, we're so used to killing each other. You don't think we could take them out? Yeah, okay. We don't follow the Ares Convention. We'd shove a nuke up your... Never mind. Not, that's if we were losing. Now, all that being said, is a mech invulnerable? No. However, you put a lance, which is 4 mechs, basically a fire team, just outside a major city, you can literally just sit there with the energy weapons and start carving up buildings well out of range of most weapons. You need artillery or airstrikes just to hit these guys. A PPC, a pulse particle cannon, that is in very common use, can reach out almost a kilometer without any problems, without any degradation to its electric projectile. Yes, that's sort of a thing. I'm not going to go over the science of it. Let's just say, yes, the science actually works, which is surprised the hell out of me when I first looked into it. But that's why Battlemechs work. When you're taking planets, does it make sense to have them nowadays? Are we taking planets, you dumb shit? Really? Now, I'm going to leave, or try to end it with this. A mech is not a fucking tank, asshole. So don't try to sit there and say, well, a mech is not a tank. I like tanks, so I'm going to say a mech doesn't work like a tank. Well, a mech isn't a tank, you frickin' cockmunch. Wow. That'd be like me saying, well, a tank isn't a mech, and I like mechs, so it doesn't work like... Fuck off, okay? This is what I hear all the time. People saying a mech isn't a tank. No shit. No shit. Now, does that mean a tank can't take out a mech? One tank, say our Abrams tank, would, depending on the mech, you might either, if it's a light, you might be able to take it out. If it's anything bigger, you're just going to piss it off. So that's why mechs work in combat. That's why they work in the Battletech universe, because you're taking entire planets. I'll see y'all on the battlefield. This is your crazy uncle, ejecting.